the NBA, the Mavericks are firing general manager Nico Harrison. In a meeting this morning, sources tell Charania and Tim McMahon Harrison has been under fire since orchestrating the stunning Luka Doncic trade on February 2nd. Charania joining us right now, and Shams, just really big news coming out of Dallas. What more can you tell us about what's happening out there?
So this morning, Patrick Dumont, Mavericks ownership, they've made the decision to fire Nico Harrison. And Nico Harrison was informed around 9:15 a.m. that he would be meeting with Patrick Dumont, the owner, at 10 a.m. Central Time. And that meeting was set for him to be fired and let go. Just last night, we saw Patrick Dumont sitting with a fan courtside. I'm told that interaction with Patrick Dumont admitting to the fan that the organization had made a mistake with the Luka Doncic trade in February, and that he was going to take accountability for it and do right by the fans. And so a day later, he's made the decision to fire Nico Harrison. And this is the Mavs essentially doing right by their fans. There's been such a public outcry internally in Dallas there. As soon as they traded Luka Doncic on February 1st in the late night hours on that Saturday night. And at that time, though, it is important to note there was full alignment in that organization from ownership to Nico Harrison, to his staff, to Coach Jason Kidd. There was alignment on the potential of trading Luka Doncic. Then it was Nico Harrison, obviously, whose decision it was, whose idea it was, who made the pitch, who made the efforts to trade Luka Doncic, and that's what he got done for Anthony Davis. And at the crux of all this is Anthony Davis has missed the last 6 games with a strained calf. And since he's been in Dallas, we have not seen Anthony Davis play on the floor for extended periods of time. Of course, when Nico Harrison made that trade, it was with the vision of him on the floor with Kyrie Irving, with a deep unit up front. We never saw that come to fruition under Nico Harrison. You can blame health, but you knew what you were trading for at a guy over 30 for a guy in their prime.
Shams, I got several questions, so I'm going to need your answers to be just a touch shorter because I got some information I need to get from you, my brother. First of all,
you just let me know.
First of all, when you have this owner, Patrick Dumont, right, you say that he said to the fan he's accepting accountability. Is this a scapegoat move on his part, saying that it really wasn't us, it was Nico Harrison that did it? Or is he truly owning the fact that, yes, this was us, and we compelled Nico Harrison to do this? Who was the person that insisted Luka Doncic needed to go?
Stephen A., it was Nico Harrison. It was Nico Harrison's decision. It was Nico Harrison's pitch. It was Nico Harrison's idea to trade Luka Doncic. But, of course, any move that gets made, Stephen A., you know, if a general manager at any level is making a trade, it is with the blessing and the sign-off of ownership as well. Now, it might have taken Nico Harrison days, weeks to get Patrick Dumont on board, but after the Mavericks made it to the NBA Finals in 2024, I'm told that's when the Patrick Dumont-Nico Harrison relationship, that was the strongest it's ever been. That's when Patrick Dumont, what I'm told, he looked at Nico Harrison as a basketball savant, as someone that when Nico Harrison speaks, when he has an idea, it's basketball gospel. And so when Nico Harrison came to Patrick Dumont with that concept, there was alignment there. Eventually, there was alignment within the front office, alignment with the coach, and that's when you see this transaction take place.
How much is Luka's performance in LA right now, averaging 37, 9, and 9, and the Lakers winning without LeBron James, factored into this decision being made?
It's hard not to look at everything Luka Doncic is doing too. And there's no doubt, Mavericks ownership, whether it's Patrick Dumont, Rick Welts, they're all paying attention to what's going on with Luka Doncic. And the fact that Nico Harrison essentially traded away Luka Doncic before he was eligible for the Supermax. So they had all come to an agreement that they were not going to pay Luka Doncic the Supermax, that the best prudent move financially is to move him. And that's what they ended up doing. But you're seeing Luka Doncic play now, and he is fully deserving of whatever Supermax contract he was worth last year that he ended up signing with the Lakers. And that is the mistake that Patrick Dumont is accepting. That's the mistake that he's beginning to essentially start the process of doing right by the fans and owning up to the mistakes. And that starts with firing the person he believes and who Mavericks people believe was responsible for coming up with the decision But again, that decision isn't made without the proper sign-off. But again, this was Nico Harrison
Go ahead.
at the end of the day that made that trade.
But Shams, that's what I'm thinking. You just said before that they were all on the same page in terms of Nico Harrison and the decision to trade Luka Doncic. So why take Nico Harrison out if all of them were in agreement about this? And of course, obviously the fans were upset, but you accept the mistake. I mean, you trade Luka Doncic, you accept it, but why take Nico Harrison out if you were all on the same page with that?
I mean, it's expectations. And Nico Harrison said it when he made the trade. Time will tell if he's right. He said it after the end of the season, I believe in April, that when this team comes back, and this is after Kyrie Irving got hurt, when the team comes back next season, we're going to be competing for a championship. Right now, after last night's loss, this is a team that is among the worst in the league. They're among the worst, obviously in the West, but among the worst in the NBA at large. And so that is not the expectations. And this is a wins or loss league. This is a productions business. If this is the Mavericks team that was sitting at the top of the conference, competing for a playoff spot, at least right now, at least in the early part of the season, probably not something we see occur. But this is a results business, and Nico Harrison put his, put everything on the line with that trade, and the results speak for themselves.
How bad does this look for Anthony Davis? And I preface it by saying this, Shams. I said before that if you're Anthony Davis, you need to understand this trade is perceived as not happening if it were not for you. That once Anthony Davis arrived in Dallas, the way he played in that very first game as a Dallas Maverick, in that first half, that's the guy that has to be there all the time. And obviously, he got hurt in the second half of that very first game, missed games after that. They crawled into the post, into the play-in and all of this other stuff. This year, he's already missed 6 straight games. Luka's on the court doing his thing, and Anthony Davis ain't even on the court because he's more hurt than healthy. And I think that one could easily argue that the status of Anthony Davis plays a role in costing Nico Harrison his job.
If Anthony Davis is on the floor, you're probably looking at different results, right? And the reality is, for the majority of the Dallas tenure, we haven't seen him on the floor at his peak position. He seemed to rush back early from his adductor injury to make his Dallas Mavericks debut last February, and then we saw he re-aggravated that injury. He misses 6 weeks, and then when he comes back, even though he came back for the tail end of the regular season into the play-in berth situation, we didn't see the Anthony Davis we all know that we saw in LA, that we saw in New Orleans. And the real big flash that we saw of Anthony Davis was that debut game. And even this year, he came into camp, to people around Dallas, obviously a little bit in different shape, right? Whether you want to call it out of shape, whether you want to call it someone that wasn't in prime Anthony Davis shape. But the reason for that is, Stephen A., but the reason was he went through detached retina surgery in the summer. He wasn't eligible. He wasn't able to have any activities in the offseason for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. So any player that takes 2 months off from the offseason, it's hard to assume that they're going to be in shape. And so the irony of all this is Luka Doncic was traded last February when he was dealing with a calf strain, coming back from a calf strain, and there was concern there about his conditioning and his shape. And now all these months later, Anthony Davis, calf strain, there's concern about his shape, his conditioning, and him coming back too soon. And that's the point. Nico Harrison is fired.
Yeah, just big residual effects off of that Luka Doncic trade from back in February.
You don't trade a 26-year-old superstar. Me personally, I hold ownership most responsible because nobody's going to convince me that the biggest incentive for them is that they didn't want to give Luka Doncic the supermax, and they wanted to be on the cheap side, and it's cost them one of the greatest, biggest superstars in the world.
Yeah, you're not going to replace Luka on that team. Shams, thanks so much for breaking down and all that insight right there. With the score tied and less than a minute left to beat the Bulls last night, it capped off a monster game where he scored 38 points and had 12 rebounds and 5 assists and 5 blocks. Stephen A., is Wemby the best player in the NBA right now?
You can make a legitimate argument. I'm not going to throw Luka out with the bathwater, averaging 37, 9, and 9, and the Lakers being the top 2 seed in the West. But Wembanyama is special. He is the new face of the NBA. He is something to behold. He's 7'5" with a handle and a J to go along with the rest of his game. And defensively, I don't want to hear another name about Defensive Player of the Year. He's averaging nearly 4 blocks a game, 3.9. I don't want to hear another name about Defensive Player of the Year. This brother is something. He's baiting people, y'all, because he's not just some 7'5" dude that gets off his feet slowly, Jeff and CC. I mean, this brother springboards. Quick, back, give me that damn. That's what he does. That's what he does.
Be careful.
And he's in the vicinity, right? He's in the vicinity. Yo. He's in the vicinity with his arm down. You remember when Cedric the Entertainer was on Kings of Comedy and he joked about black people playing hockey? And he said he want to put a goon out there.
I wish.
Yeah, I wish. Remember that? That's Wemby. Wemby in a low post, and he got his arms down, and he's just waiting. He's just standing around there. You really gonna do that? You really gonna do that? Get this shit. I mean, that's him.
Yeah.
So I'm going like the defensive player of the year easily. To me, it's him. But offensively, what this brother is doing, if the Spurs elevate and they can become a playoff team, the only thing I think stopped Wemby from being the MVP is if Luka continues to do what he does. Now, I have no doubt Luka can do it because the ball will be in his hands. But here's the #1 story developing in the NBA as we speak. The Los Angeles Lakers are winning without LeBron James.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are they going to do when he gets back? I think that the challenge for LeBron is going to be to come back because he can do what he does. He's LeBron. But the point is it going to compromise Austin Reeves?
Right.
If it compromises Austin Reeves in any way, how will that affect the Lakers? And if it affects the Lakers in any kind of negative way, it could affect Luka's MVP challenge. But if it doesn't, and Luka continues to do what he does, I think Wemby wins Defensive Player of the Year. I think Luka wins MVP. But Wemby could win both because he's that big time.
Stephen A., the irony of what you said about LeBron, he once upon a time told Kevin Love, fit in or fit out.
Right.
He's in that same situation.
He's got to fit in or fit out.
He better fit in.
He got to fit in. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't give a damn what the Lakers are doing. If you have championship aspirations, you need LeBron James. You ain't winning it without LeBron. I don't give a damn what kind of success they have. LeBron James is LeBron James. You need him to win to get it done. But how you play matters.
Yes.
And he is going to affect Austin Reeves.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out
Yeah.
in the West. All right, two great buzzer beaters in the NBA last night. Miami Heat's Andrew Wiggins with the game-winning dunk versus the Cavs, or the Magic's Desmond Bane's game-winning three-pointer versus the Blazers. Stephen A., what was the better finish here, Wiggins or Desmond Bane?
It was definitely Desmond Bane. I mean, where was it? How do you give up a wide-open alley-oop dunk like that? That's awful. I mean, there's no defense whatsoever. But Desmond Bane, that's right, coaching. But Desmond Bane, look at where's the defense at? But Desmond Bane, Orlando has been struggling with three-point shooting for years. They went out and they acquired him in the offseason for specifically this role. They needed three-point shooting and hit a game-winning three-point shot. That's a very big deal.
Congratulations to Orlando. They're still in the cellar in the Eastern Conference. Oh, by the way, Donovan Mitchell hit a better shot right before Andrew Wiggins had that dunk. You know how you end up with that lob? Because you got one of the best coaches in the game.
Get it!
That's right. I'm just going to put it out there. But that was a better finish. The Miami Heat game was a better finish. Point blank.
Better finish, but I'm just talking about the three-point shot by Desmond.
And off balance, too. Off balance, too, with the three.
I'm just trying to be there for you. I'm just trying to be there for you.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA, I'm in the